All right, so thank you for joining me today. This is going to be a detailed infrastructure breakdown of our PORT system, which stands for Personnel, Organizing, Resources, and Training. This model is definitely necessary as we continue to grow within our community, and it is also necessary to make sure that we keep our culture and our framework intact. So, this port is going to serve as our decentralized organizational model. Um, and it has three core lanes: navigators, signals, and anchors. Again, this is our organizational model rather than a tall organizational model, which is what we're typically used to seeing within capitalism with the CEOs and the executives and all those hierarchical structures. Um, Flat organizing is what we're aiming to explore. And again, this is an emergent strategy. So this is one of those things where we're just, trying out something that seems to fit for now and is safe enough to give it a go. And a flat organizational structure or horizontal structure minimizes the remove or removes layers of middle management, creating a direct reporting line between organizers and frontline members. This model emphasizes member autonomy, faster decision making, and open communication. Again, we've already been in the tall organizational structures where we understand that it takes forever for something simple. A simple fix could take months for it to go all the way up and then trickle all the way back down. And we just simply don't have time for that, nor do we have the desires to have somebody else oversee all these small, minute details that go on or that might even be different as you go from city to city or culture to culture. So we want to be able to handle those things on the lowest level possible and thus giving our community members actual access to the people who are creating the changes for them. So they're direct reflection of the voices of the change. All right, so the port system only kicks in when an area has 100 members. In this area, we're going to use as Atlanta because we are functioning as a prototype right now. Once you have 100 members in Atlanta, you are open to becoming your own channel on Heartbeat and thus having more control over your organizing metrics. We do this by, again, incorporating the port network system, and we're going to go over defining all the positions of the port. But as you see in this picture, the port personnel are simply members who have volunteered to play a more specific role within the organizational structure, right? There's nothing different about the port. This is a volunteer construct. So they just stand up and say, hey, I'm somebody who has the capacity to give this many hours a week or this many hours a month. And yes, you can count on me to execute in this particular fashion. And this is very important because our movement has to continue to grow, it has to continue to scale, and it has to remain solid as far as, why we're doing what we're doing. We don't want a CEO of collectively sustainable. We don't want somebody making decisions that's unreachable. We want these micro communities to have organized infrastructure so that, again, the changes can reflect a direct link to the people's needs and desires and wants, right? So the port network pops up as far as 100 members. This is the organizational structure that you have to have. And then we have our operating system on collectively sustainable already that we're figuring out now and using it now as far as just Atlanta being the prototype again. This is very important because now we have a member directory to where you're going to be able to see all the people in the area. You're going to be able to see their resources, what times they're available, if they volunteer, if they're a lighthouse, if they're a stewardship center. All those things will be available to you. Then we'll have our route calculator, which is used for emergency situations. This is where we're having people the opportunity to print out the directions of the unbeaten pathway to directly to stewardship centers. Again, the stewardship centers are serving as not only our educational hubs. They're where we gather for socials. They're where we gather for conversations, intense conversations. That's where we can do conflict resolution. As far as just facilitating something, this is also going to be our resiliency hub. So if it was something happening foreign or domestically to where we had to flee from our homes, the stewardship center is where we're aiming to go. From there, we can rally and go forward as a community, or that's where we're going to hunker down as a community. So the route calculator is important. Capability dashboards. Again, this is going to be where we put all the information on Front Street as far as who can teach what class and who's looking to learn. So if you're somebody who's coming in as a lighthouse, again, you can put your skill set out there to let people know, hey, this is what I can do. This is what I can teach. These are the times I'm available. And furthermore, if you're somebody who's really ready to get started, you can look on the capability dashboard and see who's ready to learn, right? There's other things that are going to go on in this community operating system, i.e., the bartering bank. And then the last thing I want to talk about is the community events board down at the bottom right. And that's a wonderful way to stay in the loop for events that are going on in that hyperlocal arena. And I know we have Farm Fresh 24/7, but this is a more intentional way to get to know people in your community, people who are already in collectively sustainable, because some of the things are just not worthy to put on Farm Fresh 24/7. Farm Fresh 24/7 is our broad reach for people. So if you feel comfortable with having strangers come to your home to do a class, that's the way we make connections. But when we want to move with intention, we want to cast our seeds on fertile soil. We want to make sure that we have the right people coming to our social, the right people coming to our hiking event, the right people coming to our discussions, right? So that's a way to build those intentional relationships within the community to support that micro solidaric concept. All right. So again, when you become a hub, you're going to get your own channel on, collectively sustainable. This is going to be an additional $5 fee. It's going to be the exact same model that we use right now on our main channel. That's seemingly the national channel where everybody gets funneled into, and then as you get over 20 members, your city hub pops up, i.e., Atlanta is on there now. And then once you get up to 100 members, you have the opportunity to now have your own portal. This is important because this means, again, as we go over the port network, this means that it gets fractaled off, meaning Atlanta would now have its own social media platform with their own hosts on a Monday meeting, with their own hosts for each one teach one. That means that every iteration of community that we create going nationwide is going to have their own voices to attach to their region, right? That's their own slang, their own culture, their own zone, growing zone for times and considerations for herbs. All those things are going to be derivatives of the hyperlocal region that they're in. So this gives again autonomy to that region versus having a national conversation with different people across the nation, and maybe even too many to have a conversation with. So again, we're going to fractal off these hubs, or these port networks only allow up to 1,000 members. So minimum 100, maximum 1,000. Again, we want to fractal off. We want to be decentralized. We want there to be not enough people to where you can get overwhelmed, but just enough to where you can get to know everybody. And I mean that in a real sense. 1,000 people is a lot of people, but you're going to focus on your concept of micro solidarity. You're going to focus on your center of gravity, so to speak. So you're going to be concentrated on the people that resonate closely with you, but it makes it easier to verify who people are, where they came from, and to really cross-reference them when you only have 1,000 people in your network, right? In your own hub. So this is going to make it tremendously accessible to kind of just see who's who and who's really, buying into the community culture by showing up and being active. All right, so going into the port network model, we're going to start with the navigators, and those are going to be our executors, our oversight, and our systems managerial department, if you will. Then we have signal. That's our communication, awareness, and platforms department. And then we have our anchors, which is our people, trust, and support department. Now, the port does not directly carry all 1,000 members relationally by itself. Instead, the port supports the system that holds the people, right? We're decentralizing our network, but we need to have framework in place so that the people can govern ourselves. You know what I mean? And the port just makes sure that everybody is assisted when and where they need to be. All right, so Navigators Network, the core function is the structure, resource alignment, and systems oversight. They are responsible for making sure that things actually happen, stay organized, and remain sustainable as the network grows. These five um, personnel or network departments are the organizer, assistant organizer, quartermaster, systems coordinator, and stewardship center liaisons. Now, you notice that organizer has guide next to it in that star. Guide simply means that's the main point of contact within this network, right? So this is the person who's organizing the meetings with everyone else. All right, so the organizer, they're basically the central coordinator of the port operations, right? They are the ones who set monthly, seasonal, and annual priorities through Monday meetings. They oversee growers exchanges, skills assessments, monthly each one teach ones. They lead port meetings, serve as final decision makers when necessary. They coordinate also across the networks as far as signals, anchors, stewardship centers, and liaisons, right? So the monthly and weekly rhythm for them. Weekly, they facilitate the Monday check-ins. They review progress, needs, and blockers. They adjust priorities based on community input. Monthly, you could be looking up to 20 hours a month that you volunteer for this position. They set focus for outreach, training, event prep, and and center support. They lead planning meetings and review reports from assistant leads, quartermasters, and liaisons. So this could look like facilitating Monday meetings and gathering the wants, needs, and ideas and feedbacks from other members in real time. And then next, you would definitely contact the respective port personnel and add necessary trainings and or resources for the community to execute. Right. So these are the people who are doing exactly that. They're fielding the questions, they're answering things, and the things that people bring up to awareness, they table down. And if it's something that we need to add in, we can add in with the most urgency, because again, we have a direct correlation in relationship with our members of said community within that port. All right, the assistant lead and the quartermaster. So, role summary of the assistant organizer, or I said assistant lead. That's supposed to be organizer. Um, the right hand to the organizer. The assistant organizer tracks tasks, deadlines, assignments, follow up items, steps in when organizer is unable for Monday meetings, keeps internal systems and communications organized, helps organize each one, teach one's facilitators. The weekly commitment for a assistant organizer is about 5 hours. And this is where they can look, basically, this could look like contacting lighthouses, organizing time slots for them to teach each one, teach ones again as we go into um, the hyper locality of the information. So every port is going to have their own opportunity to bring in their own each one teach ones. We have theme concepts for the month, but another port might want to explore more days to do each one teach ones. They might want to explore more days to do dialogues. So they have the capacity to do that, but this is kind of the role that organizes all that stuff, right? As far as the resources and the personnel. Right. Next is a quartermaster. The role summary for the quartermaster: they manage financial flow, dues, and allocation. Their responsibilities: they track member dues, event income, expenses, stipends, distribute funds for educators, event costs, venue payments, approve operational needs. They create simple financial reports and support sustainable budgeting decisions. Their monthly offering to the community would be around 3 hours, right? And this could look like creating monthly reports that of total funds and recommended budget allocations. So this could be, hey, we want to go ahead and pay the people who did the each one teach ones. We need to pull that from the budget, right? If we did 5 each one teach ones, we want to pay each one $100. We pull it from this budget. If we want to have an event where we're having a bounce house and want to offer the free food, but we want to get the food from the community members, we can pull from the budget to pay community members or pay a member who has a bounce house business and operation. So this is basically where the money comes into the port and how it's allocated out. This is the person of contact. Right. So we have systems coordinators and stewardship center liaisons, right? So the role summary of the systems coordinator, they maintain the community platform on Heartbeat, the workflows, and they track and tracking tools, excuse me. Their responsibilities are going to be adding and updating docs as needed. This keeps the infrastructure functional as growth increases. Monthly contribution of 4 to 6 hours for a systems coordinator, right? This could look like verifying when a member has completed their pathway by submitting their assignment and updating their badge. So as you know, as you come through your pathway, you're supposed to verify your pathway's completion by posting on Heartbeat, and somebody verifies that you are, yes, you committed to this pathway, and yes, you completed your assignment. You are now verified. You move from member to steward, or steward to lighthouse, or even if you've been moved to a stewardship center position. This is kind of the systems coordinator is going to handle all that stuff. You know what I mean? And also, again, making sure your documents are up to date. You're adding documents again as people, have requests for more insight, more information, more structure for SOPs. This is kind of the personnel that handles all that, right? And then we have the Stewardship Center liaison. And this is the bridge between the port and the stewardship centers. This is a very important role because, again, the bread and butter of our organization is going to be the stewardship centers, because that's where we meet at, that's where we gather at, that's our source of refuge. If the times present itself in that way, so we need to have a direct line to them because they are who we're here to support in most cases, right? So their responsibilities are going to be supporting 5 to 10 stewardship centers each, conducting regular check-ins, tracking participation, challenges, strengths, resource needs, reports needs, issues, and progress back to the port, and help centers stay active, supported, and connected. This is a monthly contribution of 4 to 6 hours. Right? This is a minimal construct. You can definitely give more, but this is what we're asking you to do at a minimum. And again, you're going to get attached to your 5 to 10 stewardship centers, or you're going to choose them, because we want them to be relationally close so that you can actually physically pop up. But this could look like visiting a stewardship center during an event and observing the flow, the lessons, the turnout, then submitting a summary that identifies the patterns, opportunities, and possible support needed at that stewardship center level. So this is going to be, again, a very much of a personal relationship being built with the liaison and the stewardship center, so that they can really have the best interests of the stewardship center at mind, and we can raise all these issues directly to the port. Now you see that it says lead in parentheses. Lead means that there can be multiple volunteers in this department. So anytime you see lead in parentheses, that means that there's more than one person there. And again, this is all volunteerism. So if you need more personnel and you desire to have more, you can bring on more. But it's going to be one person in that stewardship center liaison position that's going to be the point of contact, right? They're going to be the lead, right? And then everyone else can follow up under them or beside them, I'd rather say, and they're going to have their own meetings. So that's kind of what that means. So whenever you see that, that means there's multiple personnel in that department. All right, the signal network. Their core function is information flow, visibility, promotion, network-wide awareness. They ensure people know what's happening and how to engage and where to go. We have the communication specialist. As you can see, that's the guy, that's the point of contact. We have event coordinator, newsletter editor. social media manager, platform manager, content support. All right, so communication specialists, they're basically the voice of the hub. The responsibilities are posting announcements, opportunities, reminders, and alerts. They oversee the communication flow for the larger network. They have a weekly obligation of at least 3 hours a week. So we put these on there so you have a rough understanding of the commitment needed, right? If you don't have the time, you shouldn't apply for these positions. So again, this position can look like posting weekly announcements of upcoming workshops and events and making sure everyone is aware of ways to get active. This can also be a way for you to keep people on course with their themed lessons for the month. That can be either lessons in sustainability or lessons in preparedness, right? So stop the bleed, water purification, fire starting, all those things are just communications that constantly have to be arisen so that people who come in that are new, who don't know yet, or people who come in that are have been in the community for a while, but maybe not have been that active online, it keeps them in the know, right? So this is a very important position. And again, this is the point of contact for the whole Signal crew. You got the second position, which is the event coordinator. Again, you see that lead there. So that means it's going to be one person who is the main point of contact. And then you have multiple volunteers as they deem necessary. We want to have as many people as possible, right? So with this, they're the logistic architect for mainly our events, right? And these responsibilities include um, planning event flows, layout, timing, stations, volunteer coordination. They also coordinate with navigators for budgets and approval, anchors for attendance and community support, liaisons for center participation. So these main events that we typically have that are community wide, that are going to stretch your hub, are going to be your growers exchange and your skills assessment. And again, this could simply look like organizing a monthly community wide barter market. On top of these main initiatives that we know we have to have as mandatory implements, you might break off the beaten path as an event coordinator and say, hey, I want to organize a picnic. We're going to meet at Stone Mountain and we're going to go on a hike and then we're going to have a picnic as a community and we're going to organize that. And if we need to pay for food, again, we can talk to our quartermaster, get the budget verified, and then we can have a picnic or we can organize bartering markets. We can do anything. So again, this takes a lot of the event planning on the shoulders of the coordinators. So that's community wide event planning, not stewardship center level. This is for everybody in the hub. So at least 100 people. All right, so we have a newsletter editor. This is the storyteller and historian. We always say it online, like we have to market ourselves. We have to write our own excerpts for magazines. We have to do our own newsletters as well. And this is a very important part because it helps engage people and or re-engage people who are used to reading emails. Some of us are still very much checking those emails every day, and we might not check into the community as much because we're not tech savvy, but those emails might help us to keep things top of mind or keep us in the know, again, into the loop. So the newsletter editor creates monthly newsletter, event recaps, upcoming opportunities section. They highlight members, wins, new centers, partnerships, lessons learned. Again, just keeping people in the know. This will be a monthly contribution of a minimum of 2 hours because you only have to write one email a month. And this could look like publishing a monthly email that engages the community and lets them know what's happening around the hub. Again, you see that lead there, so you don't have to feel burdened like you have to create a whole newsletter by yourself. If you wanted to parcel it out and break down into sections, you can have a comic strip section. However we want to do it, it's the world is ours right now. We can create whatever we want. So that's position number 3 of the Signal network. Position 4 is social media manager. Again, hand in hand, the same thing. Social media manager basically manages our public facing digital engagement. For us right now, we're playing with the idea of collectively sustainable Atlanta. So that could be, collectively sustainable Phoenix, collectively sustainable Fort Lauderdale, collectively sustainable Riverdale. It doesn't matter what it is, but social media is a way to get the messages out, and it is a way for people to find you. So we don't want to act like it doesn't exist. Monthly contributions is 2 hours, and basically you're just keeping social media current and active. You're promoting events, training, and stories from centers. You're building excitement and visibility across the network. And this could look like sharing content from a community member to help showcase past events and spread awareness of the movement. So, it's really cut and dry. So we're not asking a whole lot. Again, 2 hours, share posts. You don't even have to create them. You can just share posts from other people. So we have the fifth position, platform manager. This is someone who oversees the platform-based communication system, which is Heartbeat, right? So this personnel keeps digital information organized and accessible, helps members and centers navigate internal systems. Monthly contribution of 2 hours, and this could look like moving a post to the correct channel if a member posts incorrectly, also informing said member on the proper posting procedures. This is just having our digital space cleanly, and just really keeping our stuff right and organized. And if somebody does come in who doesn't understand because they're not tech savvy, this is somebody who can step in and say, hey, this is where you go to do this. Hey, you might want to go back and look at this video because it explains what you're asking. So this is almost like our moderator, if you will. So again, 2 hours for the month. And then lastly, we have our content support, right? And again, you see lead on that one. So these are people who support communication through visual and written media. So they assist with graphics, photos, videos, event coverage, and testimonials. Monthly contribution of 2 hours. This could look like creating shareable content to help advertise events, and or to spread awareness of the movement. We're thinking again hyper locally, right? You're looking to get as many people in your area to kind of see what you all are doing so that you can build your hyper local community. And this is a way to just again spread awareness and entice people and have them licking their chops for what's going on with the collectively sustainable movement in your area. All right. And lastly, we have our anchors network. And this network, is very important. This is the community care, relational support, conflict navigation, and engagement health, right? They ensure people feel seen, supported, and connected. This was something that we really had to add in because people were slipping through the cracks. They were not getting checked on. And this is something that I believe is the heartbeat of the community, right? So anchors, we have the welcoming committee, we have outreach coordinator, we have dialogue facilitators, we have stewardship center support, we have member care coordinators. And again, the welcoming committee or network within the anchors, the welcoming department within the anchors network are the guys. They're the leads when it comes to being just a point of contact for any questions or considerations moving forward within this network. All right, welcoming coordinator. You see that lead there. Now, this is an interesting um, network because anchors all have leads, right? They all have leads, meaning they have departments that are filled with multiple bodies instead of just one, right? And the more the merrier. So the welcoming coordinator, they're basically the first impression in the onboarding guide. Again, as people come in, they're greeting new members, they're explaining how collectively sustainable works, how to get involved, where to begin. They connect members to lighthouses, stewardship centers, events, and volunteer roles. Weekly contribution of 3 hours, right? And this could look like welcoming new members into the community and scheduling a short 15-minute welcome call. This is important. We want to touch people. We want to hear people's voices. We want to have them ask the questions right there in real time and get somebody, not a computer, not an app, not a bot, but somebody to talk to them. And I experienced this myself personally in one of the organizations that I was a part of, and they had somebody reach out, and it was the best conversation ever because it really showed that it was people led, and so we want to replicate that. Two, outreach coordinator. That's the external bridge builder. Their responsibilities are to build relationships with farms, schools, organizations, and local partners. They find new spaces, possible collaborations, and support new opportunities. Right, the monthly contribution is 3 hours, and this could look like reaching out to a few local orgs a month and offering sustainability trainings, right? Just to leverage ourselves as a resource to a lot of these other communities that we know we need to connect with. So if you have hikers communities or gun or weapons defense training communities and all these things that we know that add to the value of sustainability as a whole, our outreach coordinators are going to be targeting those organizations or infrastructures so that we can make good connections with them, again build our relationship or grow our relationships with those people and grow our communities. And then third, we have our dialogue facilitator. So important. There are conflict resolutionists and culture keepers, right? Their responsibilities are facilitations of authentic dialogue sessions, conflict support conversations, and alignment circles. They support conflict resolution, relational repair, and healthy communication. They maintain emotional safety and grounding processes. This is a 3 month, 3 hour a month commitment, and this could look like simply facilitating a dialogue between members that have some kind of conflict, right? Because this could be something where you're tapped on the shoulder as community members come in or they understand that there is support. You might have a community member who has an issue regarding a stewardship center or a steward or a lighthouse, and they need to talk to somebody to like let them know what they're going through. And this is where we can come in as real support. Again, the heartbeat, the pulse of the community. So we have real people who are really aiming to provide you with that support. And I would like to also say that these departments are not just like a I gotta choose one. We're putting the monthly hours or weekly hours necessary. So if you have more time to contribute, you can choose more departments for sure. You could be in the anchors department and the navigators. You could be in the signal and multiple departments of signal. So it just depends on what you have the bandwidth to complete and really execute, not just doing it whim whammy. But yeah, we need the real deal. All right, fourth, we got stewardship center support and member care coordinators. The role of stewardship center support is they support the health and engagement of centers from a people-centered lens. Their responsibilities are they work with liaison to identify struggling centers. They help centers strengthen participation, trust, and inclusion. They support healthy rhythms and local responsiveness. The monthly minimum is 3 hours for stewardship center support. And this could look like joining an upcoming event and coordinating to serve as the greeter or to help with checking participants in. Also, letting them know more about the community at large. So, this could be your way as a center support to again come in. Y'all know how Walmart has the greeters at the front, right? This is where you check in with the stewardship center, say, hey, I'm coming. I'd love to handle your sign-in list, or hey, I'd love to help you park cars. I'd love to help you bring beverages out or be a functioning aspect of your rhythm. And then again, you're going to just meet people. You're going to give them, the intention needed to let them know this is a real organized community. And if there's somebody who's not in the community, this is where you can position yourself to introduce them to the community as far as our culture and our care and our consideration. And you would be the point of contact to just, again, maybe even meet that person and explain to them what this place is that they're coming into as far as the education that they're receiving or the social that they're walking into. So you get a very um, unique position as far as just being able to interact and engage with multiple stewardship centers as you support them, right? And then member care coordinators. They provide practical relational support to members and leaders. Members and leaders. So the responsibilities, they check in on members' well-being and participation. They help direct concerns to the proper role. They notice patterns of disconnection, overwhelm, or unmet support. This is a monthly contribution of 3 hours. And this could look like scheduling a phone call or a visit to a member that has suddenly gone inactive. Again, we want things to be small and intentional. We don't want to bloom a community to where it's 10,000 people and we don't know each other. This is supposed to get us to where we can at least, again, because this is the member care coordinators, they have, it's multiple. It might be 20 people in this department. We can have 20 people really watching, you know, all the people that come in and really getting to know all the people by way of maybe the side of town that they reside on, and you can break it down and organize it as to north, south, east, and west. So you're taking care of the people on the east side of Atlanta because you live on the east side and you can best get to those folks. But it's again critical because we got to check on our people who are organizing as well. A lot of us deal with burnout or frustrations with just life in general. And so as we are organizing this and giving our time and energy, sometimes the people who are healing and loving and guiding need the same thing poured back into them. So this is that department as well. All right, and how the three lanes work together, just a quick two examples. So first example is the Growers Exchange, which is again our community-wide concept. So this is going to be the hub of Atlanta. Let's just say Atlanta has 500 members. We're throwing a Growers Exchange. The navigators are the ones who define the budget, approves the venue, and coordinates the resources. Again, making sure the venue can facilitate that amount of people, that their bathrooms are going to be there, that everything's organized as far as parking, all those things. The signal is going to be the ones that create promotional materials, assist by storytelling and getting the word out. They basically are also housing the event coordinator who's going to actually create the flow for the Growers Exchange and actually get everything together as far as who, what, where, when, and how. Then we have the anchors who are the direct contact with members. They encourage participation, assist with answering questions and giving details. They are important because a lot of times people have all these one-off questions about what they can bring, who can come, where the setup is, and they don't have time to meet every week to discuss this event. They might just need to make contact with somebody, right? And that point of contact can be in that anchors department. So this is how all three departments flow to have one event um, manifest as what we desire for it to be, a great way to connect with community and expand our network as far as just relationships and building relationships. All right, the next example is going to be a typical Monday meeting, right? A typical week within Collectively Sustainable. So, Monday meeting, your navigators are going to be the ones facilitating the Monday meeting and receiving community input on changes needed. They also will be creating the strategy to move forward with execution, right? Signals are going to be informing the community of the new goals and the strategy to achieve the goals. They're going to create the media to explain and encourage the participation, right? And then the anchors, lastly, are going to be supporting with the actual implementation of the new strategy in real time by connecting with the members at the stewardship centers and assisting where needed, right? So this is another flow of how all three bodies of the port engage on, regular, everyday, weekly opportunities of organization. And then again, our bigger opportunities to engage with the Growers Exchange and skills assessments. And that is a quick, presentation on how this thing is organizing, or how we are organizing ourselves. Again, this is a volunteer construct. All members within the port are going to have an emblem that we haven't come up with yet, but it's going to be an identifier, like a pendant that they wear. Just like how we have patches, this is going to be a pendant that you wear to show, where you are in the port. And this is just going to be a way for us, again, to have a very flat way of organizing so that the voices of the people who are the members, the stewards, and the lighthouses can literally get to the port organizers within the smallest amount of time possible. And this is where we start to execute our strategy and start to build the infrastructure needed to maintain the integrity of our community. So thank you for watching, and I'm looking forward to getting your input.